It's that time again. Hey, everybody. Zelda's in here meowing. If you can hear her, I apologize. She'll leave in a second because I'll be moving around too much. And she won't really like that. What? Yeah. Okay. Okay, she's on my lap. Well, she'll run away in a second. So I wasn't really sure if I should do another gloss spray video. I guess I haven't done one in the daily demo series, but I did do them several different ways at Creativation. So all of those videos are still out on Ranger Inc.'s website. So if you go to Ranger Inc. and then click, I think there's a video link, right? I can't remember. Anyway, there's definitely quite a few gloss spray videos out there that I did, but I thought we'd do it again because it just doesn't hurt to have a little play. Also, I've used them quite extensively throughout the videos, you know, the last couple weeks. And so I don't know if I'm sure you've been paying attention, so you've seen different uses for them already. So if you have specific questions, it'd be great if you want to let me know. I will, you know, kind of watch as I'm demoing, and then I'll definitely give time at the end I'll pay better attention to questions. And if some of you know the answers, as always, pop in. So glad you are all with me today. I really appreciate it. I know, I feel like you guys, are you kind of getting to know each other a little bit? It's kind of fun because I see, you know, same faces joining us, which is wonderful. It's part of that community, our artistic community that we're building. So if you see the cat fur flying, my cats are shedding their winter coats, and so there's fur. I was brushing Titan yesterday, and fur was flying off him literally like a cottonwood tree. When cottonwood trees shed their cotton and it blows in the air, that is literally how he was shedding as I was brushing him. Like, just crazy. It's not frozen for me, Victoria, so it should come back for you. Try refreshing. If it freezes for you, just try refreshing, if that sounds good. Yes, my True Lime. In fact, I kept that there. I gotta move her. Yeah. So this is one of my obsessions, and I talk about this in class. So True Lime, it's just dehydrated. It's crystallized lime, basically. And I actually love it so much that I get it on my Amazon Subscribe and Save. So it's just a little packet of lime juice. There's no sugar. The only ingredients are citric acid, which is the juice. Well, no, citric acid, lime oil, and lime juice. Non-GMO. Anyway, so each packet is the equivalent to one lime wedge. And I've gotten so addicted to this stuff that I bring it everywhere I travel. I put it in my Diet Coke. I put it in my water. I put it in my seltzer. I put it in my herbal tea. You name it, I put it in there. I just super love it. So anyway, it's an unopened package, but it was on my desk and I was cracking up that I had apparently oversprayed on the True Lime. And you can get True Lemon and True Orange and True Grapefruit as well, but True Lime is the bomb.com. Okay, gloss sprays. I did a few talking points. She's mad at me, can you hear? I did a few talking points about the gloss sprays. Number one is you just need to remember that it's paint, not ink, okay? And you do need to shake it up. So just like you go to the hardware store and you have to shake spray paint in the can, same with these. You need to shake them and get those pigments mixed really well, okay? So shake. Now, spray paint from the hardware store has a chemical propellant in it. It also has chemicals that make it stick to everything. And whereas this is water-based, so this is not going to, I mean, this does stick to a lot, but it's whereas spray paint from the hardware store you can layer on top of each other. This paint, Hi guys. This paint will start to resist each other the more you layer it together. Okay. So if it freezes you guys, you don't need to say frozen. I mean, you can, but it's still working for me. So, and I don't know what to do about the freezing. Mine's plugging away and not freezing, so it has more to do with internet connections than anything. So sorry about that. I'll do my best. Keep refreshing and it will keep coming back. Nancy, you're probably the only person I know that is so good. She's always on the treadmill when she watches. I totally need to follow your lead. Yeah, they dry fast. I don't clean my stencils. Hi, Curdy. So the dealio is that they're paint, not ink, okay? Because they are paint, that means that they're going to come out in a thicker droplet, okay? Yeah, so many people are on Facebook that it's a combination of problems. So do you need to get the white stuff off the bottom when you shake? I don't bother. I mean, I shake for a bit and then I call it good. Yeah, the entire world's on the internet, so we'll just do our best. We'll make lemonade. We'll make true lemonade. So the droplet is big. So if you're used to dilution spray, which is awesome, and dilutions gives you that nice even spray, then you're going to be weirded out when you use these. Yes, Joyce, you can use scribble sticks over these, absolutely. So because again, this is going to come out in a thicker droplet. So this is not the spray to spray through a fine detail stencil. It just isn't. It's way, way, way too thick. Limonada. What we need is limonada. I love limonada. So remember that, okay? Paint, not ink. Paint, not ink. And you might even hear me say, grab your ink, only because I've used dilution sprays for years. They're wonderful. And I always tell people, dilutions is perfect. Distress sprays and distress stains and stuff like that, they're perfect. I didn't need to reinvent those. They're, that would just make me a copier. So my spray is quite different. It's a nice addition to the line and to the other sprays that are already on the market that don't perform like this because they're perfect the way they are. So another unique thing about these sprays is that they're non-reactive. So that means when they're dry, they're permanent, and you can paint with acrylic paint over them, and the colors and the patterns that you've sprayed will not bleed through. And that was really important for me because I do like to paint a lot of faces that, over crazy backgrounds. And, with a reactive spray, you get that bleed through. Now, because like Tim's inks and Diane's inks are reactive, that's how you can do their awesome techniques with Diane ghosts. Well, you can't ghost with mine because these are not reactive. Tim does those cool water droplet doodad things and just all those beautiful textures that they get those because those products are reactive. And so you won't be able to do any of those techniques with mine. So there really is a place for both types of product. It just depends on the look you're going for, what you're going to do on top, and all that good stuff. So because these are layers of plastic, when you first spray on unprimed paper, so no gesso, that first spray layer is going to soak right in. And then the layers that come next are going to resist each other. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why I don't always gesso before I gloss spray, because that gesso seals that paper and gives me a plastic coating, and that means my first layer of gloss spray might resist on the gesso. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but just you have to keep that in mind. I would say I gesso 50% of the time, if that. I don't even know if you guys, I barely make a conscious decision. But I find, especially on tags and things like that, I don't pre-gesso for the spray. And remember to keep the caps. Keep the caps, keep the caps, keep the caps. If you don't keep the caps, you'll have more clogging issues. Just ask yesterday, as I had issues with some of them. I went through my sprays this morning and pulled aside the ones that I need to try to unclog. And I laughed because I seriously had a ton with no lids on. And then as I use spray bottles, notice I save the lid. So I'll throw away the spray bottle when it's done. But I keep the lid because I lose lids all the time. I don't know if there's a bundle price, Amber. You might want to ask stores if any stores are offering a bundle. Travis asks, do pages with spray stick together? Sometimes a tad, but not significantly, and not to the point where you ruin everything. I mean, if I maybe close it a little too early, it's been kind of like a tad, but not like some paint that's really, really, really sticky. Okay. I do know that these gloss sprays are sold out lots of places, but they're also getting them back. How do you unclog? First thing to do to unclog is you do need to scrape the skin off the tip of the bottle, because that might be what's clogging it. And then hold the sprayer down over the garbage can and keep it down for a good 30 seconds to a minute. That's going to help build up pressure in the sprayer. But the same, has Diane ever done a video where she teaches you how to unclog her sprays? Because it would be exactly the same. Because every now and then, Dilutions will kind of do that to you. It's just the nature of having product in the spray bottle. So I find I really do have pretty good luck as long as I keep lids on. Right? Cool beans. Okay. So these are kind of the main talking points. We call these copy points. And that helps. Does it help to spray them upside down, Janice? I don't know. I've never even thought of, I know people have mentioned that, but I never even think of it. For the most part, I have pretty good luck with them. So not a big problem with them. All right. So yeah, Sherry, that's right. So I do think Diane's done a video about how to unclog her sprays, and I need to go watch it because it would be the same. The method for unclogging will be the same as any spray that gets clogged. Okay, so the joy of these sprays is the unique properties they have. Acrylic mixes with acrylic. Do the replacement sprayers work in your bottles? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I didn't know you could get replacement sprayers. So possibly. So Kirsty says she's had one spray clog, got it clear by scraping it and then doing some water through it. Half the time I use these by pouring them anyway. So if I can't get one unsprayed, I'm like, oh, well, I'll use that one with a paintbrush and but for the most part, considering how many I still have or I've gone through, I've had relatively few. Kara, where did you order them from? It just depends, because Ranger's been shipping them since the show. And lots of people have them, so I'm not sure where you ordered them. It would be their fault, not our fault, really. Tim said, yes, they will fit all the Ranger bottles. Very cool. All right. So yeah, you can, if you need to, you can replace sprayers. So the first thing that I learned about spray was, I don't know much about that company, Carol, but you should have had them long before now. So I don't know if you can cancel them. Can't get them in Australia. That's actually, so Kylie from Scrapping clearly had them, sold them out, and she has more on order. So I do know that there are Aussie stores that have had them and have just sold out. All right. So on an unprimed tag, that first layer is going to soak in. Okay. And it's, it gives a nice look. It has the gloss, I will say, on these, gloss sprays is a slight sheen. It's not crazy glossy like my skin in the 80s or now still. The first layer is going to be a little more matte because it's going to soak into that paper. And then the second layer is going to start to resist each other. So once that paper has reached kind of critical soaking, then the resist starts to happen. And that's how we've been getting this galaxy look with the sprays when they're layered on top of each other. Is, they create, I want to call it a cell. It's kind of a cell, but really it's a resist. So that initial pink layer, that plastic is resisting the plastic that's coming next. Okay. So you can really mess around and have fun with the different colors. And get some really pretty effects. And it kind of like pouring, you'll spray and then, you'll spray and then when they're dry, they might look a little bit different, which is always kind of magical. The techniques that you do with rubbing alcohol, where you flick alcohol into a wet paint layer, it'll work with these as well because these are acrylics. So they just create, just on their own, layered together, really interesting. I call it the nebulas. You can create the nebulas. And I really enjoy that. I never get enough of the nebulas. So to create a nebula, I've learned is I start with medium colors, and then at the end I add a dark in a couple of areas, and that way you've got some value change. I do love putting boxes on my people. All right, so here I'm just going to set that aside to dry. And let's see, I sure have a lot of overspray. The overspray will skin, so because it's acrylic. So if I leave this overspray on my desk, let it build up and build up and build up, you can easily pick that overspray off with your fingernail after it's built up enough. And then you've got a skin happening, and then you can use your skin. If it weren't acrylic, it wouldn't skin. You can also just let it dry and do the tape method. Karina, these sprays are called gloss sprays. You can do the packing tape method to clean after it's dry. You can also scrape it off like you would scrape off any acrylic. Yeah, spraying upside down for me, I think would have disastrous consequences. So I'm just gonna blot that, only because I had a lot of cool blotting from the craft sheet. So by spraying another color on it and then removing the excess off the top of the plastic that was already there, then I get a really cool effect. So I absolutely do not believe in heating acrylic with a heat tool ever, ever, ever. So this is acrylic, so just let them dry, you guys. I mean, yeah, just let them dry. When I taught in Panama, I taught in Panama last year, and I, my class was fun, but there was one lady in class that she did not like the fact I didn't want her to turn on her heat tool, so she just did it anyway. I kid you not, I about had a seizure. It made me so twitchy. All right, so another thing with the spray is that they mix well with acrylic. So this is a swipe of acrylic. I think was this the big brush demo maybe from the other day? And I don't know if there's gesso down there. It looks like there is not. But it will stick. They will stick to each other to a point. But remember that acrylic is plastic. So see how my dots are nice and solid on the non-gessoed surface, and then here on the acrylic they're beating up a tad. Again, that's because they're resisting. Okay, I promise no matter where you live, the gloss sprays will dry. They will dry, I promise. I've taught in Florida many times. I taught in Panama, which was like so humid. I promise that they will dry for you. They really will. I mean, if it takes a little longer, it no problem, but just keep your hands moving and don't get that heat tool out. Ugh. But I have, that's a trigger for me, right? That's a trigger. So as I spray through a stencil, you cannot coat your stencil too much. Meaning you don't want to hold your hand stationary and just, you will for sure end up under with seepage. Amber, they do resist a little bit over gesso. Not as bad as regular acrylic, but a tad, because gesso is still giving it a plastic layer. So to stencil successfully with the sprays, I would say maybe 2 movements of your hand, and 2 sprays while moving your hand. So that means, again, I'll come back, I'll come to spray, And keep in mind, you're not going to get 100% solid image because we're not overspraying it. And I move my hand and I move my hand. And by keeping my hand moving, I'm kind of getting a nice light coat on there, and you're going to be at peace with how it turns out. Yeah, Christy has the sprays. I saw Tracy Papercraft has the sprays. Papercraft Clubhouse. Who else? Busy Scrappin'. Scrappy Chic. I mean, we've mentioned all these stores before, and they're all on the post in my list. Crafty Scrapper, check them. Check Queen's Inc. There's lots and lots. But see how nicely they will give you, you know, just a nice look on top of the acrylic that's already there. And you can start with the spray and then add the acrylic over the top. So it's kind of like mix and match. You can do Ephemera Paducah, thank you. Thank you. Kristen was on earlier. Kristen, do you have them in stock? You'll have to ask if she does. They can be ordered directly through Ranger, but if you can order, and you know, do that if you don't have another choice, but let's keep our stores open. If our stores don't stay open, we are sunk, you guys. All right, so there is just more masking. This is not a primed page, but there was a very thin swipe of acrylic paint on the background, probably mopping up. Okay, so that's very typical of me. You wish I'd come to Massachusetts. So here's the deal with where I teach. I've got to have a venue. So a store, an event, something like that. Number one. Number two, I usually wait to be invited. So, and I used to teach in Massachusetts. There was a store there, and I taught there several times, a couple of different stores there actually. And they have since closed, so I no longer have a venue, which is why we really, really need to keep our locals open so that we have those important places to gather. So I just did masking with a tag, with a spray over that background, and then here's my delicious tag. So I would set this aside, and this will be, you know, tag for another day. I love to paint with these just with a brush as well. So if you want to, you can just spray it on your craft sheet. I used to just open it up and stick a brush in there, but then I've learned you can really easily spill that. Absolutely everything, yeah. And there was another store in Boston I taught at all the time. Great little stamp store. Lori and Linda were the owners. What is the name of that store? I can't remember. All right, so I can come and use the spray as a paint with a paintbrush. It's going to go on a little more transparent than like my heavy body paint will, but it will work great as a paint. Just done with a brush. It will dry something fierce in your brush, however, because of the stickiness of it. So I would recommend washing your brush immediately. I want you guys to know, I changed my paint water today. I know. I don't know what the world's coming to, but I changed my paint water. I always laugh when I change my paint water and I find stuff at the bottom of it that I've thrown in there, like a pen or just stuff I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I put that in there. Oops. So I'm being careful about not overspraying, because if I do overspray, I'm going to end up with really bad blobby blobs. Will that tag straighten out? A little bit. Here's the deal. It's not curling because of the gloss spray. It would curl no matter what wet medium you put on it. So for things like if your journal pages curl, you need to paint on the other side. And then you will have on both sides, you will have the paper had a wet medium that the paper's absorbing, and then it'll flatten out. But cool. And by the way, this spray prints like freaking dream. It is so cool to print with. So what I mean by that is, as I work and I stencil, okay. Let's see. These are the big number 10 tags. I just opened a ton of packages of tags for today. Doesn't matter what size tag you do. I'm going to do olive for Raina. Yeah, you need to clean your brush right away. There's cat hair on my stencil, you guys. Or is that? Yeah. Oops. Oh, I keep missing. It does help to know where your spray bottle is facing. I'm sorry. That just makes me laugh. All right, I definitely oversprayed that, so I'm going to get some seepage, but I'm going to move that to one side for a second. Now I've got all this gloss spray beating up on the plastic stencil, and I'll come back with tags, and I will pull prints. Yeah, I just use water to clean it. Just rinse it. You can iron it to flatten paper out again too, but I mean, that tag's going to end up stuck in something, right? So it just doesn't matter that it's curly to me, but. So I like to pull the excess off with my tags. Never waste that spray, right? And then what's really kind of fun is you can make these seem like they're on 1980s neon acid by spraying color over it that should make brown, so pink and green make brown, but I'm going to spray over that and then blot. And then that creates just this really cool glowing effect. I super love it. Isn't that cool? I really love those. They just make me happy, and you get that complementary color vibe happening, and I just think it's really fun. And then I can come back. Now these are pretty wet, but I like to paint a lot with the stem. So I might just add a few lines with the stems. A few flicks. So that's all gloss spray. So this one's pretty much dry that I did first, just pulling it back up so you can see it. It's got that beautiful glossy sheen, and those colors have kind of mixed as they've dried, and that's my nebula, right? That cool? So then what do you do with this? You stamp on it, you paint on it. I'll paint a figure on it. So Gail says when she blots, she gets the paper towel pattern, which sometimes can be nice. It drives me a little crazy though, so I only buy Viva paper towels that have no pattern. So I'm super weird about that. I don't know why. I don't like there to be a pattern. Yeah, this is this is Viva paper towels. They're the only kind that I buy. They're more expensive, but they're so fabric and cloth-like that you can use them for a really long time. And then of course, if you want to, that looks really cool. So if I pull that out and gel medium that into something, this is going to look like fabric because of the nature of the Viva paper towel. They really are the best. I know Diane likes Costco, right? I think she's a Costco paper towel lover. We both like Huggies wipes. She loves Costco paper towels, and I love Viva. Viva are the best. Once you go Viva, you don't go back. I'm here to tell you. Seriously, trust me on this. They're so good. So I'll save that for another day. All right, so even back to the stems. Oh, see, look what I did. No lid. I am the worst, you guys. And I think it's so cute. I'll make funny comments sometimes about being messy or disorganized, and people are so hilarious. They try to fix me, and it just makes me laugh. That, yeah, Christine, yes, you can use the gloss sprays on the gel plate. It just makes me laugh that people think they can fix me. Look, I'm not changing my stripes, you guys. I just think it's funny. I just find it humorous. All right, so back to the stems. So if you try to draw with the stems, what's fun about it is it's like drawing with an old feather. You're not going to be able to really control it very well. The paint is going to run out quickly, so eventually you've got to re-dip. And so as a result, you end up with, you know, a more expressive drawing than you would if you were using a paintbrush or a pencil and you're trying to hunker down and be really controlled. And you guys know me by now that I love any techniques where you can't over control something, because that's the kind of art that appeals to me. I like that expression. I want to see the hand of the artist. It moves me. My favorite can't live without glossy colors: turquoise, magenta, ocean, cheddar, night, and white are probably my most favorite. So get brave and pull the stems out. Just so what I've learned so that I don't, oh Travis, that is a good idea. So what I've learned so I don't spill this bottle is to keep this bottle in my hand. So I've learned if I set this down, it's sunk. If I don't set it down, then I find I don't spill it quite as readily. But remember, I'm a hot mess, so we're all aware of that, right? Made a whole career on spilling stuff, so. And remember, I always say 90% of it is confidence. Somebody asked, I don't know if it was yesterday, like, when did you get to the point that you didn't care about how, I ruined the eye. Oh, well. When did you get to the point where you didn't care about how it turned out? And the technical writer in me wants to kind of dissect that, and the English major in me wants to say, yeah, why is that? Let's analyze that. And I'm going to try to come up with an answer for you. I don't really know. Oh, look, there's my white with no lid. Dina! Dang it. Do they stick once dry? Only a tiny bit, not a lot. I would not cover them with gel medium, no. I would not do that, personally. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I'm using my Muppet voice. Whenever I use my Muppet voice, when my voice goes like this, it means I'm super excited about something. Okay. So listen, I am so not supposed to show you stuff that's coming, but I just want to give props to Steve from Ranger, okay? So Steve is the chemist, and Steve developed this product. He developed my pouring medium. He's kick butt awesome, number one. And number two, when these first came out and I got addicted to them, I said to Kathy, and who we work with for getting products out, I said to Kathy, do you think Steve can make metallics? And she was like, oh, I don't think so. So Joyce, hold on to that question for a second and ask again, because I'm in the middle of a story. And Kathy kind of said, oh, I'm not sure, because the metallics, have a lot more sediment in them to keep them shiny and glittery, right? Hubby is a diver. Okay, Palau and Truck Lagoon was life-changing. Anyway, so next thing I know, Kathy says, hey, I've sent you a box for some things to test. And in the box were metallic sprays. And you guys are going to die. You're just going to die, because they are so, so good. Kirsty, no, I have not seen her paintings. I'll have to look them up. They're so good, you guys. They're just... it's kind of like mind-blowing how good they are. And they have all the same properties as the other gloss sprays, and the metallics are just, see how it has the lab label? The metallics are just stunning. Diane Reevely, D-Y-A-N, Diane Reevely is my good bud, artist who has her own line, Dilutions, and then you guys know Tim Holtz, another good friend. Dear friend, those two are my dear friends. I'm not trying to name drop. I really do love them. Anyway, you're going to die. I mean, really, you're just gonna want to die when you see the metallics. It looks like I've already misplaced the gilt. Oh no, here it is. We're not quite sure when they'll come out, or what order they'll come out, but I'm here to tell you that you're gonna need them, and they're spectacular. And I don't even use metallics a ton. I mean, I love my metallic paints, but we don't know, Marilyn. Right now everything's kind of on a hold, but they're so glittery and metallic-y and fine. They had to be. Tim kind of threw me under the bus yesterday. What did he say? You got to tell me what he said. All right, so Joyce asked another question. Joyce, can you ask it again? I'm scrolling back to see if I can find it. I don't see your question, Joyce, so can you ask it again for me? Dina, is there anything you put out that I don't need? No, there's not. Yay, Teresa from Rangers here. Oh, he said I hated his crayons? I don't hate his crayons. They're just not my medium. Does that make sense? They're just not, I can't use them like he does. And I don't hate them. They're just not my fave. I don't hate much. All right, but I mean, do you just not want to roll? Here, I'll put this on the ground. You guys can roll around in it if you want. I mean, that is how good. Oh, how do you apply the glossy paint spill to pages and journals? Thank you, Betty. So I just spill it. You just got to let it dry before you turn the page. Right? Love. So should I do it over this acrylic? Sure, why not? Yeah, I mean, they're not a drawing medium. So Tim's crayons are not a drawing medium. And so they're just, I always call them, his are like a background and a painting medium. They're just different. They're just different. The bottom line is they're just different. There's not, everything has a different use. Is this what you were asking about, Joyce? Oh, but I meant your craft mat. Patty, yes, I do need to add more greens. Oh, yeah, what did he tell you about the, so Danielle, I used the face stencil yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. I demoed that yesterday. I would love to know what he said. Oh, how do I get the skins off the craft sheet? Oh, you just let it dry. And when they're dry, you can pick it up like any acrylic skin. So any acrylic skin, so when all of this is dry, okay, so I let it build up and build up and build up to a lot of people's irritation. And then when it is really coated, and I mean really coated, you're just going to pick your fingernail under it and pull it up just like when you get a sunburn and you are picking skin off your arm because of a sunburn. That's the same way you're going to pick the skin off the craft sheet. It really does come up with your finger. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I remember testing them initially and being like, yeah, these aren't my thing. But he works them with magic. In fact, that's what's amazing to me about a lot of Tim's stuff is I see it and I love it and I don't know how to use it. And then he teaches. I love going to his classes so much because then I'm like, oh, that's what you do. And he's such a good teacher that, you learn so much. So even though it's like his style of art, I always tell him, dude, I'll buy your stuff in a heartbeat. I'm just not good at making it. But his assemblage art is incredible. It's just incredible. Yeah, glue it. Use gel medium, Joyce, to glue it in journals. Glue it on tags. I staple it onto things. In one of the early demos, I did pick some off the craft sheet. lots of ways to use skins. If you go to Pinterest and just put in acrylic skin, you'll probably get lots of different ideas. Some artists save them in a bucket. Yeah, I usually pull them up and staple them on something. Yeah, he said you all wanted a crayon. They tried to do one for you all and came up with a prototype. Yeah, that's true. Sunburn. Well, that's how you get it off, right? I'm a sunburned peeler. Yeah, I mean, how can you not? Or, you glue dries on your hands and you're like picking it off. That's how you're going to pick the skin. That's why they call it a skin. That's why. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Cool beans. Yeah, Diane and I both tested those crayons when the prototype came out, and we both were like, yeah, no. And Tim was like, I love them. And then I'll never forget, too, he was like, I'm going to call them a crayon. And I'm like, but they're not a crayon. And then he had this really good, which I can't remember, this good defense of why he was calling it a crayon. And I was like, all right, he's calling it a crayon, and it makes sense. But I can't remember what he said, but I remember it was good. All right, so layer those acrylic sprays, just like your paint. Just like, I mean, it's a very, very thin acrylic, okay? Can you describe the journal I'm working on? So this is the 6x6 Dina Wakley Media white journal. So it is 6 inches by 6 inches white cover and 300-pound heavy watercolor paper, handmade watercolor paper. It's very absorbent paper on the inside. And people always ask, well, what do you do if they leak through the spine? And I'm like, oh, then I turn to that page and think, oh, cool, look, it's leaked there. Let's keep going. I just do it. I don't fuss about details. I'm more of a big picture person, right? All right. The little white journal, oh my gosh, they fill up so quickly. I have so many white journals here that are full too. I was thinking of selling them. Do you ever color your covers? So very rarely do I cover my covers. However, for CHA or Creativation, I'm still not in the habit of calling it Creativation. I had some designers cover the new blue journal or decorate the cover of my new blue journal. And so Kathy, yes, the sprays work well on canvas. Absolutely. The sprays work wherever paint works. So I actually started to do my cover for the Creativation Challenge, Creativation Challenge, and I loved it so much I actually ended up doing 3 covers, which is something I've never done, because I always end up with paint and junk on the covers, and I just don't care about the covers that much, because what really matters to me is what's inside. Do you gesso those pages? Doesn't gessoing everything turn them all into the same surface? So in my original black journal, Marcy, I only gesso the watercolor paper because acrylic paint acts better on acts better on gesso in my way. Yes, Chris, I'm going to sell white journals already filled. I have tons of them. Do I gesso pages? I do gesso the pages in the white journal because I like the way my paint acts on gesso. So it really just depends on the way you want your paint to look and the techniques you want to do. You know that technique where you paint and then you lay a stencil down and then you rub it with a baby wipe to remove some of the stencil design? That doesn't work if you have not gessoed. And I like the way paint moves. I don't gesso burlap. I don't gesso canvas. I don't gesso denim. Nope, I don't. Well, a stretched canvas from the store, yes, absolutely I would gesso. The canvas in my journals, no, I do not gesso that, okay? And gesso is another thing people fight me on. I'm not saying you guys are fighting me, I'm just mentioning in general that a lot of questions about gesso. The bottom line is, how do you want your art to look, okay? I have certain ways that I want the paint to act on the page. And so in order for my art to get that way, to get it looking the way I want it to look, it has to have gesso for the most part. And I remember back in the day when I first started teaching a lot, I used to call gesso underwear, that you can get by going commando, but something's going to chafe. Kay, it just depends. Sometimes I gesso under scribble sticks. It depends if I want the scribble stick to move. We talked about that in the scribble stick video, that if I really want the scribble sticks to move, I'll gesso under them. If I'm not gonna bother it, have them move, I don't gesso under it. And like I said in this video earlier, I would say I gesso if I know I'm only doing gloss spray on a page. I don't worry about gessoing a ton. But if I'm mixing gloss spray and acrylic, I probably will gesso. So, I've seen artist videos where they're like, I never gesso, I don't believe in gesso. When I took that class with Katie Kendrick, she didn't have anybody gesso. And again, that comes down to personal preference. I always say your pens are personal. Your brushes are personal. You like what you like, right? And your gesso is personal. So it's just going to depend on how you want your finished art to look. Try it both ways. So, and Diane really will tell you that she goes commando all the time, that she doesn't gesso, okay? So again, there are as many ways to make art as there are hands that do it. So it just is up to you. If I'll have people that email me frustrated because they can't get certain techniques that they learned from me to work, and the reason it won't work is they haven't gessoed. So a lot of my techniques are what I call gesso dependent. Yes, I can spray over gesso. I just got to find something I pre-gesso. So sometimes I just turn Netflix on and I just start gessoing, and I gesso many journals at a time. It's really nice just to get it over in one fell swoop. This one I've gessoed right here. Oh man, I've got 2 sprays here with no lids, you guys. See, I can preach it, but I can't live it, apparently. Jeez, I've already seriously lost a lid. Son of a gun. That's why I saved the spare lids. Yeah, gesso was a relief, gesso was a resist. Oh, also, Barb, you're in charge of reminding me to do spray over the gesso on a tag, okay? Okay, all right. So this is spray on gesso. See how I'm immediately starting to get resist? The reason why those little bubbles are forming is that that plastic of the gesso is starting to resist. But Barb, we can do it as a relief too. Dina, do you gesso using a brush or a scraper? Yes, correct. Both. Depends on what I'm grabbing. Okay. Yeah, don't use gesso under distress inks. Don't use gesso under dilution inks. It mutes them something fierce. Okay, so acrylic needs gesso. Yep, I used olive earlier. I can use it again. It looks really good with magenta because pink and green are opposite on the color wheel. So they look wonderful together. Olive looks amazing with cheddar. Olive looks amazing with anything blue. Olive and ocean are gorgeous. Okay. Pull little prints. That looks like a flower, an abstract flower. Okay, so notice it works just fine on the gesso. You're just going to get a little bit of beading up initially because the gesso's already sealed that paper for you. Okay, so I'll go around and pre-gesso things, but I will tell you, if I'm on a roll and I am not really paying attention, and I'm just pumping stuff out, and I'm headed down that artistic wormhole, then I will I won't even notice if a page is gessoed or not gessoed. I just go. There was a question, how to get a smooth application. The way to get a smooth application is to not worry about it, number one. Number two, start with very smooth paper. And number three, probably scrape it on with a trowel, an old gift card, a hotel key, and not use a brush. My brushes have thick, stiff bristles, so have you ever varnished a painting, and the way to varnish your painting and not have brush marks in your varnish is to use a really, really soft brush? So a similar thing for gesso, but I like lumps and bumps. I like that to happen. So yeah, I find that with my thicker, more textured pages, especially in this small journal and in the blue denim journal, I like to brush my gesso on, because the brush gets down in the nooks and crannies a little bit easier than a palette knife or a scraping method. So I used to tell people only scrape your gesso on. What if you use your comb? Yep, you can use your comb on the wet inks, or not inks, paint. See, I said ink. Told you I would. But yeah, you can just like anything you know how to do on your with your acrylic really will work great with the spray. You're dealing with big viscosities. So using sprays extensively on the gel plate is one of the classes I'm teaching in person this year, so I don't want to teach that class for free because people have paid for it. I did demo it briefly in the gel plate video, however. I very rarely use craft color tags. Just a little bit, not a ton. Okay? Let me go back and see comments that I might have missed. What colors that I missed? Kylene, I missed which color I was using at the time when you asked that. I'm sorry. What I put on there was marine, olive, and turquoise, it looks like. I did do a gel plate video. I mean, I mostly only use my acrylic paint on the gel plate and scribble sticks. So I don't use other products other than my products, if that's what you mean. How are you shaking the containers? Yeah, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, only store them on the side, only do it this way. I don't, again, conscious thoughts in my head are not going to be happening, you guys. So that's not something that I would even think about. I'd pick it up and shake it. I just don't care. All right, so I am going to, just remember I'm a hot mess. That's just how I roll. So I'm going to grab, Barb, I remembered on my own. I'm going to grab some gesso. You can use acrylic paint for this. Doesn't really matter. Barb said the word relief when she meant resist, but relief got me thinking, oh yes, I love gloss spray through it, relief. Relief meaning visible texture, so thick strokes. So notice I am putting this gesso on really thick. It smells good today. Just sniffed paint, y'all. So you can even throw a comb or a brush end or something into that texture. You just want visible texture. You could do this with modeling paste, texture paste, all of those cool grit pastes that Tim has, right? Okay, you just want it. What's wonderful about my line is because it's heavy body acrylic, you can use it thick and you can get these thick impasto techniques. Remember, impasto is texture that you can feel. Or you can use it with a little water, it doesn't break down. And you can use it very thin as well. Why doesn't the white spray? It does, it's just stuck at the bottom. So I promise, for some reason that white pigment is stickier. And so there is a ball down there. Sometimes I go like this to, see, hear that? Just the white pigment is different. So, okay, so you can let this dry if you want. I'm not going to, just for sake of demoing. Because no matter what, as long as I don't knock down those texture ridges, I'm going to be able to get the effect I'm looking at. So remember, what you've done is you've just created valleys for the very, very fluid paint, which is what this gloss spray is, to run down into. Okay, so I'm running down, or the paint is running off the mountains and down into the valleys of that texture. And then you've got to put this aside and just let it dry, because when it dries, it looks really, really cool. Will they show on black gesso? Yes, they do show on black gesso. The lighter colors will, the darker colors will not. And the metallics definitely will when they come. I'm not going to say if, when they get released. Okay. So let me lift this up, see if you can see. Is that showing up how you're getting peaks? You've got those peaks and valleys, and that spray is running down into the valleys, and it's just delicious. Hey, Tim. Okay, so it's just a great effect, but that now you do need to let that dry. Shocker. And don't heat it. All right, any other questions I can answer about the gloss sprays? I'll demo the same thing that I showed you in the video the other day on the gel plate. Okay, notice I just pulled this gel plate straight out of my drawer. It's a little curly because of what else it was in the drawer, but you know, it's fine. Remember, I don't take care of my stuff very well. And again, in order to understand why my gel plate's dirty, you need to watch my gel plate video. or just know me. So I'm going to put thin layer of paint down on the plate. I'm seriously giggling that the plate is curly. Oh, for goodness sake, Dina Wakely. All right, and then I'm going to grab a couple of stencils. And you need a very light spray because at this point you are adding incredibly fluid acrylic to this plate. And remember, if you put too much medium on a plate, do you remember what happens? Do you remember what I call it? I call it mush. You will end up with a mushy print, and that is not my favorite, okay? So I am careful to add just a sparing amount so that I don't end up with a mushy print, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and print that. No, I don't clean my brayer either. Oh, people. So it gives you, it's going to give you kind of a muted effect. When it's dry, it's so pretty. All right, I put so much paint on there. I think I can do it again. La, 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 la. Remember, dirty stencils and a dirty plate makes for much more interesting prints. At least that's my story. That's my excuse. Remember, it's all how you spin it. Okay. So I find you do need to start with a thin layer of acrylic paint before you add the gloss spray. Now look at this delicious overspray that I have. That would never get wasted. La, 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 la. Or I would go to Target in the old days and just let that dry so that I would have cool skins for later. All right, so there's something for another time. Let me show you, the reason I like to embed the gloss spray on the plate into some acrylic first is that, remember, the gloss is quite fluid, and really you need, the heavier the paint, the better on the plate. So you're just gonna get a lot of beads if you just spray and if you don't add paint. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, no, I guess not. But for the most part, I prefer it the way it looks with a little bit of spray under there. Does the paint stain your hands? Nah. Favorite place I've ever been scuba diving is Palau. I talk about it like it was a spiritual experience, you guys, because it practically was. It was mind-blowing. I'm speechless now even thinking about it, how incredibly stellar it was. I mean, we would stop counting sharks on a single dive at like 25, 26. I mean, there were so many things, but my favorite thing we were at the manta ray cleaning station. And so they come in and the manta rays get cleaned of all their parasites, but all of the other fish. And oh my gosh, it was, to see the scale, they were 20 feet wide, you guys, 2 stories. Picture an animal coming towards you in the ocean that is 2 stories. It was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, and octopus are my favorite animal because of their intelligence and many other reasons, but the very first dive, I jumped in and went down because my weights were correct, and a couple of other people were figuring out their weighting. And so my friend Jen, who's an amazing diver, and I were down at the bottom, just dinking around the coral. First thing I see, first dive, was a huge, huge octopus out swimming in the middle of the day. And I was just blown away. And then that dive, we saw 2 more. And our dive master from the day told us that he'll only see 7 in an entire year. And we saw 3 on that dive. And it was an absolute... Honestly, if you told me I could support myself by living there, I would move tomorrow. It was incredible. I mean, I am an instructor now, but I don't think they need chubby middle-aged instructors. But it was just, it was amazing. So to use skins, I'll just have to make some, you guys, and do that as a video for another day because it's so hard to just tell you, but I use it like collage paper. So if I were doing this and if this were a skin that I had done and I would like a little bit of pop, I would totally put the skin down and then put a stamped image over it. Have I ever dived in the Great Lakes? Caprice, yes, Palau. We're going in 2021, May, so please come. I'm a warm water weenie, and the Great Lakes are really cold, and I have not dry suited. I have not done my dry suit certification. So there will be a gloss spray in red eventually, but remember, red gloss spray will look a little bit like blood. Okay. So let me rewind. Sorry, you guys are distracted. I could talk about diving forever, so don't get me going. So skins you're going to use like collage paper, just a little piece of colorful collage. Sometimes I'll even use the skins as petals, and so I'll just staple them down, again using that tiny attacher, which I love, and then I've got a flower done out of skin. But you just think of it like collage, like a colorful piece of collage. It just happens to be this cool plasticky, stretchy, skinny thing. Oh, and I have an English degree, and the way that I describe things is so great, so good, you guys. That skinny thing. Okay. See, look, the plate's almost fine now. Look, I'm just gonna throw it right back in my drawer. Nope, no problem. The reason I keep it in the drawer is I use it a lot. So it's really nice to be able to throw that drawer open and pull that plate out and use it when I need it. Bulk tags, I did bring that up, hoping we can get that happening. I hope. Yeah. All right, if you are interested in the octopus, sorry, I'm really bad attention deficit squirrel right now because you guys started talking about diving. I recommend a book called The Soul of an Octopus. Keeping them in the captivity made me a little irritated because they die and then they just replace it like it's no big deal. But they are there for research, and they even think that there are a lot of diseases that the different chemicals in the octopus skin might be able to help with, because the skin, the way it color changes and its sensitivities, apparently octopus can even tell what medicines you're taking by touching your skin. Like it's amazing. So Travis, the great thing about diving is that you're on life support equipment. You have a good breath the whole way. So if you ever want to do it, let me know. Do I clean my brayer? I do not. I do not clean my brayer. But that's adorable that you asked if I do. I do have a really small work service. Did you buy a storyboard? I did not buy a storyboard at Palau. All right, any last questions about gloss spray? The best thing to do is remember these tips. Make sure that you play. I'm still discovering new ways to use them because they're a fairly new product. If you happen to get them on your phone, what I want you to do is just get them off your phone with a alcohol wipe, if you can locate one. Oh, Tim, you are amazingly talented. You're amazing. Tim is so helpful to me, you guys. You just don't know how often he helps me. And Tanis, I did a scribble stick video. So if you go to my Art of Dina Wakely page, and if you click on videos from the menu on the left, click on videos, you'll be able to see the archives, and then you will also be able to see them on my blog, dinastamps.typepad.com or dinawakely.com, and click on blog. The book about the octopus is called Soul of an Octopus. And it's a kind of a layperson's introduction to the intelligence of the octopus. It's amazing. It's really, really good. Bye, Curdy. Time goes so fast. I mean, I'm always on for an hour, and it just feels like I told you 3 things. Yeah, I do have an octopus stamp. Amazing. You should ask. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. And I have octopus chipboard. Right here. So we will be on tomorrow as well. And then I am going to take Saturday off and Sunday. Hey, Tim, do you have a demo Saturday? So Tim has been demoing on Saturdays. Instead of you coming to us, could we go to you? Yep. I don't sharpen my scribble sticks, Kim. Kim asks, how do you sharpen scribble sticks? And my answer is I don't. You can sharpen them with a knife or by making backgrounds, by like scribbling really hard and twisting. In general, I don't sharpen them. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate you. Shop your local store. Nancy, don't be afraid. Okay, so Tim is demoing on Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific probably. So I will be there watching as well. Missouri, Karen, Courtney, Scrapbook and Memories. And I know she sells online and does post as well. Scrapbook and Memories. Definitely check with Courtney. Okay, you guys. 10 a.m. Pacific time for Tim on Saturday. And then I will see you guys here tomorrow as well. Bye, you guys. You're awesome.